All right, buddy. Welcome to another edition of the Leadership Blend Live podcast with your host, Rick Hardy Rice, and my co-host,
Simone Cherie.
All right. I feel like we've not been in here forever, and I would say it feels weird, but I've been here without Simone, so it doesn't feel so weird. But
Nice.
yeah, it's
Nice way to slip that in there.
Yeah, I was gonna throw shade. You knew that was coming. Like I'm gonna throw shade, but shouts out because Brad Jenkins said to tell you hi. He's the CEO from the Asian American and Pacific Islanders Victory Fund. So I told him I was missing the co-host, so he said he wants to come back. So all three of us can be together.
I would love that, for sure.
It was a really interesting interview. I was really impressed. But nonetheless, we figured that we haven't been in here in a minute, and we really want to talk about all that's been going on since January. And we decided, I said, hey, you know what? We should bring in a guest commentator who has a lot of opinions and a lot of thoughts.
And who knows their stuff.
Exactly. And who knows what they're actually talking about. So everybody welcome Dr. Zach with us today. How's it going, sir?
Hey, guys. It's great to be here. It's an honor. It's a pleasure. And it's a privilege just to spend time with you and share space with you and your audience. I'm really excited. And to be here at a time when we're going to talk about so many events because, again, a lot's happened since January. So thank you guys so much for thinking of me and having me join you.
All right. So since you're already talking, tell everybody about you.
Well, everybody, I am Dr. Zackory Kirk. I am a committed educator who is now in the realm of educational sales. But the focus of what I do is education, activism, and wellness. That's the focus of the brand. You can find me on Instagram at the Zactivist, or you can find me on TikTok at Zactivist, or on Twitter at Zackory K.
All right, so let's just get right into it. So it is what? Actually, it's April. Today's April.
April 1st.
April 1st.
March.
Yeah.
I was okay.
You got 3 months down.
Yes, we're
3
quarter of the way
months
in.
of discussions and topics and hot news.
So I guess we can start with how does everybody feel about the Biden administration's progress thus far? Because that didn't happen this year. That happened last year.
Yeah, but we should definitely talk about it this year. We haven't had a chance to do that. Not to mention, this is the year where during the first year, you always give the new president so much grace. We're always doing a lot of usually he was signing away. We talked a lot about executive orders. I think the last time we were here, usually that first year is laying the groundwork, getting the people in place, figuring out exactly how the flow is going to work. And then year 2 is kind of like when people start getting a little impatient, start wondering, okay, so what's going on? So I think before we get into it a little bit deeper, the biggest thing I think that was on the table for me and for a lot of people who follow the same sorts of politics I follow was the John Lewis Voting Rights Act, which was incredibly important. We talked a lot about immunity, and we've talked a lot about police brutality. So the George Floyd was also very, very important for us.
Because the NAACP had him on a time clock.
Yeah, I think it's very, very challenging to have these sorts of conversations when there's so much at stake right now. And even in the Supreme Court, there's a lot at stake right now. And there's other administrative duties that you could clearly are taking the president's attention, not to mention an entire war. But these are the bills that I was the most passionate about. These are the things that I was the most interested in and seeing them move through. And also, I think the things that only this administration can uniquely handle, because if the tables turn or tilt any further to the right at all, then I don't even think we can have these same conversations. So I am not at the point of pissed. I am still patiently, ardently waiting to see what the next steps are going to be. And but those still kind of remain my focus, to be totally honest.
I don't think there is a game plan for those things, and I think that's the part that's going to really start making people angry this year.
Well, there's a game. There's a game plan. The question is just will we have the right focus and will we pay enough attention before this year's midterms? Because the way the politics are set up now was so fascinating to me, because the state so much reflects DC government. It's not even funny. The issues that are most important federally have become so important locally. And locally, we have a lot of really important elections going on. So I'm anxious to see, if the state makeup start to change, will Democrats in U.S. Congress start to slow down and start to take things a little less seriously? Because I feel like there was so much momentum leading up into Biden coming into office. So my hope is that this would get done before November of this year. That would be my hope. I feel like this is the strongest wave. The way that they can, the blue wave that we can claim is still riding. That's how I'm looking at it.
You guys bring up some really great points. And so that is the focus of what I do, right? So I want to say that the George Floyd policing bill and the Voting Rights Act were key cornerstones of President Biden's platform. And they're still key elements of his platform. The thing is, we have to make sure that members of the black community understand that the president is in the executive branch of government, and the executive branch does nothing to make a law or to even pass a law. They execute the laws. Our president has the ability to sit on the bully pulpit and push his policies forward. And that's exactly what he's been doing. And his entire administration has backed that. The problem and the reason why we have not had the George Floyd Policing Act passed, and the reason why we have not had the John Lewis Voting Rights Act passed, is because we live in a country where we have 50 Republican senators and we have 50 Democratic senators. But the truth of the matter is we really don't even have 50 Democratic senators. We have 2 of those senators who caucus with Democrats, and they're independents. Now, they're faithful, reliable Democratic votes. That's Bernie Sanders and that's Angus King of Maine. We can count on them. But you also have Joe Manchin and Kristen Sinema, who we can't count on any longer.
No.
Until we have a true supermajority in the Senate, those bills are unlikely to get passed because of the dirty partisan politics being played currently by Republicans. Now, that does not mean we should take the focus off of pushing President Biden as the leader of the Democratic Party forward. But I think when people are saying they're disappointed in President Biden or that they're right on the verge of being pissed off at President Biden, think about the other people that maybe we should also be pissed off about, right? Sure. So often we want to put the focus on Democrats, but we're not looking at the Republicans who are doing the exact opposite of what we're needing them to do. They're actually literally fighting continuously against the George Floyd Policing Act. They're continuously fighting against voting rights and putting laws in place in places like where we are in Georgia that are going to further restrict the rights. So when you talk about we're right there on the cusp of the midterms, the blue wave is, I think, this is a blue drizzle.
Yeah,
we are looking at
a
ripple.
Momentum.
It's
I don't even think
not
it's
even
that.
a ripple.
I don't think we have enough momentum to get
But
through
that's
midterms.
also, we own some of that. We have to own some of that because we have not done our work in continuously mobilizing black voters and continuously ensuring that the black community is aware of how this process works and how it plays out, or realizing what's really going to be at stake. We just went through last month, we're in a new month, the confirmation of Judge Ketanji Brown Jackson. And it was an absolute embarrassment the way this black woman was treated, the things that were said about her, not only by Republicans who were questioning her, but also by members of the black community. People were wanting to question her blackness because of who she's chosen to spend her life with as a life partner. Those are things that detract and distract and take us away from the real work at hand. There is no way that this woman would have a snowball's chance in hell of getting confirmed if we didn't have 50 votes in the Senate. And at this midterm, we could very well lose that. And we will be looking at 2 years of standstill and no progress being made. And that, I think, is really dangerous. And it's a really scary future for us.
I think, so here's one question I do ask, though. Is part of that because of the messaging that goes into, so I don't know, everyone knew we were not going to have a supermajority. But I also believe a lot of the messaging for Ossoff and for Warnock, and I'm sure for several other Democrats across the country, although these were very important Senate races here, was that we'll get it all done. Like, this is the key. This is the magic pill. This is the antidote. Like this will give us something we have not had in recent memory. And we have, like, is that not part of the messaging that goes into it that leads up to people's disappointment and their expectations? It's just
100%.
like, okay, well, we did it. We did it.
It's 100%.
When certainly it's not that simple.
Well, I think that we forget that the average Joe does not understand the dynamics like we do. So all they know is, like, when it comes around to midterms, most people don't vote midterms because it's not a presidential thing. But when it's time for presidents or mayors or governors, then everybody's like, I see the advertisement, I see the flyer, so on and so forth. So, when it comes down to stuff like this, everybody's kind of like, okay, you're telling us there's a black man, he's a pastor, so that connects with a whole different audience. Okay, well, he's my pastor, he says he can get it done. You guys say if we give you these 2 people, then we won't have to worry about it. Well, he said, we gave you these 2 people, and you still haven't felt, the running line is, my food stamps haven't increased, my paycheck haven't increased. A lot of them like to say stuff like that, but we gave you what you asked for.
But it has increased, and that's also part of my frustration, right? As someone who is extremely committed to moving the nation forward, regardless of political party, I am somewhat concerned that things have improved. We are in the 11th. Today it was announced that we have had 11 straight months of job growth in the United States of America. We haven't had that in decades. Not only have we had 11 straight months of job growth under the administration of President Joe Biden, but we've added 400,000 jobs per month or more for 11 months straight. That means that more people have access to employment than we've had in a long time. Now, in addition to that, you have to look at the fact that so many people are opting to not work and pursue their own personal endeavors and pursuits. And that's another benefit of what we are calling the Biden boom. So that is a result of President Biden.
That's true.
So people are saying, I'm not seeing anything in my life, but their lives
And be
are
honest,
improving.
There are people in my family who have never worked in my lifetime, who've never worked, who've
Wait,
never kept a
wait,
job
how-
for more, never, just never. And
What-
they
so
are
what is-
working.
so what have they been
I'm not going to
doing?
name these siblings.
No, I'm
these
saying, so what have
relatives.
they been doing? That's my question. What have they been
They've
doing?
been on God's grace or on the kindness of a
you
stranger.
got some real black
the kindness of a stranger.
But
So you got some real
And
black
they
guys.
are working.
And-
or people who've always been working who are no longer working, and they're okay.
because they don't want to work, and there's enough discretionary income in our pockets to keep them not working a traditional job so they can pursue their passion pursuits, and we can pay for their and fund their passion pursuits. That's the power of what the Biden boom has brought to America. In addition to that, you brought up a really good point. We now have, for the first time in my lifetime, people making significantly more than minimum wage.
Yes, praise God.
President Biden wanted to increase the minimum wage from $7.25 in Georgia, I think that's what it is, to $15 an hour. And congressional Republicans lost their minds. Wealthy business owners lost their minds, and we didn't increase it. But what happened as a result of it? Now they're paying $18 and
Yep.
$21.
They wanna keep
The
it.
power the power is now in the hands of the American worker. Today, Amazon they're being forced to unionize. All of these changes for the working man in America are happening under the Biden administration. And the fact that people are not wanting to give that credit where that credit is due breaks my heart, because this man is going to go down in history as an average to mediocre president. This is going to be that case. But his work and the movement in this country signifies to me that he should go down as one of our best presidents.
But part of what you were saying, I think, in the beginning is I think the challenge too is that maybe the problem is that we do expect that something like our socioeconomic livelihood is a one and done, like that we did it, like past tense, ergo now what? Like why is it a year and a half later we have to do something else? It's because it's a constant. Like life is a constant. A democracy is a constant. It can fold at any moment. It's not like something where I can put in the work for this election or that election or that election, and then what else do you want? It's constant. It is constant. And midterms are incredibly important. I'm sure.
Yeah,
To me,
especially now.
we all know that, and I think slowly the nation is starting to appreciate that there is no such thing as like a non-important election. That's not a thing. But it's also the case that I think Americans have to get their minds around the fact that democracy is a living, breathing thing. It's not stagnant. It's not like it's a living object, which means it can die. It can be choked within an inch of its life. In Georgia, that seems to happen a little bit more every year lately, at least since the Trump
Well, I
administration.
mean, I guess it's the way things look. Like, to the average person, gas is astronomical. You get into
I'm
definitely
so
gas.
tired of hearing about
is-
gas.
I mean,
Gas is gas.
I mean, if you're gonna have to do it, but that don't mean you have to like it. Like, my car went from $30 to $60, and I'm just like, whoa. I mean, and you're gonna have to do it, but little things like that. I think those are the things that people are just like, okay, you say they're getting better, but I've never paid this much for gas in my lifetime.
Could
like,
you
little
have
things
ever
like that.
imagine that you will be able to pay that much for gas? That is the real, right? So people are saying, I'm so angry at how high gas is. Why aren't people saying, I am so thankful I'm able to buy the gas? Because you are able to buy the gas. Not only are you able to buy the gas, but you're also able to buy the groceries that are also increasing. Yes, inflation is real. It's a problem. It's a concern. President Biden is addressing both of those at the detriment of the Democratic Party, right? Like, he's going to lose support from Democrats. He just announced this week that he was going to release like a lot of barrels of gas from the reserve. The Green Deal Democrats, they're pissed. They're angry. But he's doing this because that's what he feels is right for the working man and the American people.
But can we also appreciate the fact that however expensive gas is, entire work weeks go by now, and a lot of Americans don't use their car anyway. They're working from home. They're not even commuting into the office or into the wherever every day. Anyway,
Yeah, but-
expensive as gas is.
Yeah,
I'm not
but
going
who-
anywhere this
okay.
week.
But
I
who
don't
are
mind
we?
expensive
Yeah,
gas.
okay. But are we talking about the status quo that lives on the poverty line?
I think
that
a lot of-
COVID
wait.
has kind of pushed them under the poverty line. That people who are still working 2 jobs and are still kind of struggling. Are we talking about them? Are we
I
talking
think about
the
them every day.
middleman, the middle average American? Like, who are we talking about?
I talk about when I talk about these issues, I'm talking about my family. I'm talking about people that are, making ends meet every single month, check to check. I'm talking about the people. I'm from rural Mississippi. I know I have one sister who's a single mom of 3 kids under the age of 10. So I'm absolutely always thinking about them because those are my people. That's my family. But they're not only my people, my family. That's Joe Biden's background. Those are his people. Before President Biden was vice president, he was I want to say the number 3 from the bottom of wealth of all the people elected in Congress. So he knows this life. It's been a part of his trajectory. And I think that he always keeps in front of center. That's why he's choosing to anger people like AOC, Congresswoman Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, and the people that support the progressive movement and the climate change to release all this oil.
The ideologues, basically.
Because the reality is I still don't believe. Because you got to think about how many, when you talk about the poverty line, you talk about people who weren't really even at the poverty line, right? If you made $75,000 or $150,000, you weren't at the poverty line, but yet you still benefited from the COVID stimulus package that came every single month. That was a huge game changer. You lifted 46% of American children out of poverty by doing that. Never forget, no congressional Republican voted for it. Not one Republican senator voted for it. And that also all belongs to the Biden administration.
Can I ask where in rural Mississippi?
Oh, I'm from a really small town called DeKalb. It's right. It's not far from Meridian. It's in Kemper County.
Okay, my mom's side is from Gulfport. I was curious.
Yep. My best friend from college was from Pass Christian, which is by Gulfport. So.
But no, I think to your point is right. What you made me think, Ricardo, is like, who is a middle American? Like, who is a middle American at this point? Is that person making 75? Is that person making 50? Like, it's a really elusive term, and I have not wrapped my mind around what that means in the 2000s and beyond. Is who's middle, who is average? I don't know what that looks like.
I don't know. I guess would middle be like 50K up? I mean, 50K to about 75K. Would that be considered middle?
I think middle it definitely doesn't mean what it used to mean.
No, absolutely not.
I think middle used to mean that there was some slow level of wealth accumulation over time, and middle now is more like treading water, so to speak. Like it's not necessarily homelessness, but it's also
But it's
not.
like is it the working class that still can't afford to live in housing, like the people who are not living under bridges but they're living in hotels? Like,
the cost of affordable housing is a sincere issue, and it's just.
I feel like that's just a term nowadays that people just use. We're gonna build affordable housing. What does affordable housing look like? Is it $1,200 for a 1-bedroom? Because that's not. Is that really affordable to the average American? Like, what does affordable housing look like now? Is that Section 8 still? Like, what does that picture look like?
I Googled literally what because that's a great question. We need to know that. And here's the reality of it. Like the 23,000 to 114,000 is deemed middle class in America, right? From the
I was about to say that's not
from lower middle class to right again, because you're not in the poverty line. The poverty line is at 23. So 23 to 114 is the span of middle class America, and that is the largest group.
That's still 80%. That's still
80%. 80+% of Americans fall in that demographic.
Okay. So wait, are we accounting for family incomes as well, or is that just in?
So here's what I was thinking though, Ricardo.
I'm inclined to say that's the individual income, but it may be
the
families.
Working poor that I was trying to move out. Right. There's beneath the poverty line, but then there's working poor. Or house poor, perhaps, or maybe even student loan debt poor, in which that individual is,
which is a whole nother issue.
Well, that person is a flat tire away. In my mind, that is not
a
flat tire away from
if they're paying it, if they're choosing to pay it.
Right. So in my mind, that is not the middle. I'm imagining is a middle in which there is some level of stability. There is some level of
Well, wait. Are you talking about then the middle class has to be those that have a safety net? That if something happens,
not a big one, not a big one, but again, like not a flat tire away from saying I can't pay my rent now. That's what I'm imagining.
Which looks different for a family versus an individual. So if I have a savings of $500 and I have a family, that's not even really a spare tire. Like that's gone if one of my children gets sick. So that's not even. You have to make a variance with that too.
Yeah.
Now if I'm single and I have a $500 savings, that'll cover a flat tire and maybe a tow. But if I have a family, $500 if I have 2 kids and one of them gets sick, or a year worth of lunch money, can eat that up in seconds. So how are we really?
Fair.
And then
a real safety net in 2022 is 6 months of income.
Which
That sounds about right.
I don't even think people can fathom the thought of having that much money.
And I remember
put
you used to
aside.
say 3 months. I remember hearing 3 months.
Yep.
But now
It was 3.
6
It
months
was
is
3, but I'm
absolutely
saying in
fair.
2022,
I agree.
because of COVID-19 and the pandemic, and we don't really know what really can happen. Like the game changed, the unthinkable happened, and there were people who were truly unemployed for long spans of time with no income coming in other than the stimulus that was put through by,
Yes.
the power of congressional Democrats.
Agreed.
Okay, so let's segue. So let us segue. So we got a new a new mayor of Atlanta. So now we have Mr. Andre Dickens.
Hey, Andre.
Oh, God. So, I was going to say something, but I'm not going to say it because I know how you feel about that.
No, you're not. We're going to have an intelligent discussion. And we're going to have a fact-based discussion. And that's how we're going to keep it. Because there's enough of the other kind.
You get on my last good nerve. Okay, so now we have Mayor Dickens. Where do you two stand on the job he's doing thus far?
So here's the thing. I feel like
Well, actually, wait.
Before
Thoughts
you get
on
into
Bottoms and then into transition into Dickens. Like, what were you expecting when he got in office that you may have didn't see from Bottoms?
now, if there's any conversation that's a little too early to have, I do think it may be this one. I appreciate.
Just say thus far.
I mean, to be
No,
honest,
what you're not about to do is cop out. So
To be honest,
give me what you
it
got.
has been-
No. Give me what you
it has
got.
been what?
Give me what you got.
Not even 3 months.
Give me what you
Literally.
got. Give me what you got. He came in hot. Give me what you got.
I do think he's coming high. I think he's had a lot of really important conversations with exactly the right people. He's had conversations with Women on the Rise and with all of us criminal legal reform advocates because we're very passionate about that jail. We still want to have conversations about closing that jail. We also have conversations about jobs, right? So I think he's engaged us and he's engaged a lot of other organizations in our space, which is what we are passionate about. There was a lot of decarceration that happened during COVID. So if this didn't affect you and if it didn't come close to you, you should know that prison populations and state local jail populations decreased on the average about 4% across the country just because of having to release people who are at risk and having health issues during the pandemic. And with all those people being displaced from facilities, there have been a lot of challenges with where do people go? Do they have jobs? No, they lost their jobs when they went in there. So there's been a lot of displacement and a lot of transitional poverty as a result of that decarceration, as important as it was. So he has addressed that for me head on, and I've appreciated that. In fact, Atlanta's in a much better place than Marietta is in Cobb County, and then a lot of other cities are in those counties. So I think they'll be able to handle this better than the other places, which is good because Atlanta already has a significant homeless population, unhoused population. I do feel like when it comes to those issues, he's all over it and he's on top of those. The only plans that I have not heard come out yet, which again, it's only been a couple of months, and I do think this will remain important, is about legacy residents and is about really controlling the ability of people who have always lived here and who have bought homes here and who have built lives here to remain here.
So gentrification, stop putting something, altering gentrification.
Doing something long term to think about what that's going to look like as well for the city of Atlanta. I'm not hearing any more conversations about Buckhead and about cityhood.
Well, I think he already handled it. He put a little precinct there and made them happy, so I think they're okay for now.
I think that's an important sign because I think a conversation about gentrification would be very necessary had Buckhead cityhood continued on, and now it has not.
Because I already told you that was going to look like
one battle that's been slowly beat down.
I already told you that was going to look like. It was going to look like the border when they saw them horses whipping them black folks. That's what Buckhead was going to look like. I don't care. I'll say it. That's what that was going to look like. If we're honest about it, that's exactly what they had in mind. If they had succeeded, I'm just saying. Dr. Zach.
It's really hard to chime in after the vision of, our Buckhead Betties riding these horses charging forth to keep everybody out of their city.
Did not
Oh,
pass.
they had a plan. They had a plan.
I think they may have had plans.
They had a plan.
I'm a huge Mayor Bottoms fan. Love her to death. Will always love her. And I was weary of Mayor Dickens, but I have come to see that he is doing a fine job. And, I think he's doing an admirable job. I think that he has a different temperament. I think he has a different style than what I would have expected for Atlanta. To be honest and fair with you, I think that, Mayor Franklin, Mayor Reed, and Mayor Bottoms had a very similar style. They were, I think, natural commanders. I think maybe I'm really out of touch with what Atlanta wants. And again, the people didn't come out. But that doesn't mean, because these candidates who are fighting for reform, like Chivy Brooks, these people who were fighting for change on school boards, like Royce Mann, just because they did not win doesn't mean the work stops, because there are people like you and other community advocates who are still fighting the fight and bringing the people who have been elected to the table. That's how politics should work. And that's what leadership is. Dickens literally said he wanted to increase police funding, but he's still taking the time to listen at how to decentralize this and reform this and make this work for Atlanta. That's what we need in a leader, in my opinion.
All right, so on that note, we're going to take a break, and when we come back, we're going to have more with us and Dr. Zach on the Leadership Blend Live podcast with your host, Ricardo D. Rice. All right, everybody, we are back on this week's edition of the Leadership Blend Live podcast with your host, Ricardo D. Rice, and my co-host,
Simone Cherie.
And our very special guest,
Zackory Kirk.
All right, so let's shift again, because y'all already said what I said. I'm not even going to get into it, because you already said you're a great fan of Bottom, so this would have went left real quick. Stacey Abrams, will she come in hot enough to drive us through the midterms, or at least build the momentum back up from a drizzle to maybe a wave again? Thoughts?
So the last time we were here, Stacey was not yet in the race. We were getting very, very upset.
No, I don't know about upset.
You weren't upset?
I wasn't upset. I was just kind of like
disillusioned.
I mean, Stacey, she kind of had. Look, Stacey to me is a textbook example of how you play the game. I didn't win, but I'm gonna make sure I go do some work that you're gonna remember my name, so that when I do decide to throw my hat back in, I'm good. The work that she has done, and some of the things that she did while she was in that, I don't want to call it hiatus, but while she did what she did, especially buying the medical debt for those people, brilliant. Like, I don't think people think about that. What would your life look like if you wasn't saddled with some kind of debt from a doctor's office or a visit? What would your life look like? So the moves that she made, beautiful. Absolutely beautiful.
I think that Stacey doesn't have to be a perfect candidate. She doesn't have to run a perfect race. She just has to be better than the Republicans. And Herschel Walker.
Oh, God.
Well, no, let me go back before I get into the Senate. So because of this kind of split and this shift that has happened with the current administration, like with Brian Kemp, and with Trump's disdain for Georgia and its current Republican administration, he's still incredibly mad. I think the question comes down to whether or not Stacey's very pragmatic. She's not doing the Barack Obama or AOC vision casting that I might have expected for a gubernatorial race so far. I feel like she was doing that before. Now I feel like what we're getting is a lot more pragmatism. Here are my plans. Here are our problems. Like she's talking healthcare, she's talking education, but she's speaking very much, I feel like, to the middle. I don't see her doing like that, like the big vision casting and talking about reform, and also talking about equity the way that I thought she may have been, and the way that I felt like matched her rhetoric before she was in this race.
But do you think she needs it though?
Well, so I think just as a neutral observer, it's kind of a nice test to see, like, between what the Republicans are going to be doing, which is just cult of personality. Like, they're just going to be trying to pull people with these. I mean, you can see how they're setting it up even at like the state legislature. Is they're setting up all these big hot button issues, like talking nonstop about the same things, talking about critical race theory. In my mind, I feel like it looks like people turning out for Hillary versus turning out for Trump. And I don't think we liked the way that ended. But Hillary was incredibly pragmatic as a politician and even as a candidate. So I don't know.
I still say that Hillary in them pantsuits. That's what got her, was them pantsuits. But I digress.
Go ahead.
I couldn't think of my president running around in pantsuits every week. I'm just saying.
Going any further there.
I'm just saying.
Zendaya wears pantsuits.
Who?
A lot of women wear suits.
Zendaya is pretty and she wears dresses. She looks very girly a lot.
Go ahead.
Hillary Clinton is a beautiful woman,
Watch the
and
documentary.
she's
No.
a stunning.
I'm gonna give
All
her
right, now are we really
I'm gonna
doing
give her
this?
her
Stunning.
credit.
Are we really doing
stunning-
She
it?
is
Stunning?
a juggernaut of a politician.
Exactly.
And I will not
Nobody
take
will
that away
rob
from
her. Nobody's robbing her of that.
And she is a fellow Scorpio, so October 27th is her birthday.
What's my
so
birthday?
I will always, be a Hillary HRC fan, Hillary Rodham Clinton. But
Oh, good God.
I am worried about Abrams' chances to be governor of Georgia.
Really?
I want to say that she definitely didn't take a hiatus because she was working.
Yeah, she was
harder.
on tour and
She was the hardest working Democrat in the United States of America during the 4 years from 2018 until 2022. And what she was able to achieve and accomplish has just been, astronomical, unbelievable. But the tenor has changed. I do believe that the things that you mentioned that you would want to hear in regards to the work around equity and the work around so many issues that were at the forefront and social justice at the forefront of what she talked about in 2018. She can't talk about those things anymore because the Democratic Party themselves are so splintered. That's the problem with who we are. When you are the party of the people and you pitch a big tent and you say you all are welcome here and you all belong here and your needs are our needs and your priorities are our priorities, it's hard to narrow down what that really means. Certain things are very pivotal to the Black community that may not be as pivotal to the LGBTQIA plus community for those members who are not Black. The same thing goes for the Latinx community and those members who may not be LGBTQIA plus. So the Democratic Party has to contend with that. There's so many people now that are being fed rhetoric that is so personality driven and they're buying into it. And we see that with the constant push of news from I don't even know what to call these news sources, but there are a lot of Black people in the Black community who get their news from Media Takeout and World Star and
Shade Room.
the Shade Room and the Breakfast Club. And they're
ATL Scoop.
And ATL Scoop, right? And they're letting the subtle manipulations of disinformation mislead them. So Abrams has to contend with that, and she has to think about that. So she has to decide, I'm going to focus on something like Medicare for all that will resonate with the majority of the people in the base. This next election is going to be won by the independents. And the reality is no one knows what they want because there's such a fickle group. And I'm worried. I'm worried. I can't say that she's going to win this election. As of right now today, I don't have faith that she will.
I think you're right. And for like this underappreciated piece is that for Republicans, if they can just target the middle-aged, white, Anglo-Saxon Protestant in the suburbs or outskirts, then they will cover a huge majority of who they need to talk to. And they know that there are certain things that base, even if that base is not the far right, flat Earth.
Flat Earth.
Even if this base is not there, there's things that don't bother them. Even if they are not believers in stopping critical race theory, even if they are not believers in ending mask mandates, they're not fazed by those things. Like they have very linear concerns, and they have very they all kind of are talking about the same things. A big part of their concerns, I know, have to do with safety and have to do with crime and have to do with the fact that if you pay attention to some of the reforms that have been happening or that did happen slowly during the last election cycle, which I think we briefly talked about being actually a pretty good one for justice in Georgia anyway. There was a lot of Democrats getting elected to sheriff's positions, Black sheriffs for the first time, Black DAs, Democrats in places that have never had Democratic DAs. In the midst of that conversation, there have been Republicans slowly planting seeds to say that these were horrible things that have been happening, and slowly planting seeds and planting stories about, look at this incident that happened, and look at that incident that happened, and this is what happens when you allow people to bail out on their own recognizance, and this is what happens when you decarcerate. And they're starting to slowly build this level of fear and anxiety, which is a big trigger for white conservatives. It's their number one juice that they can sip on all day. Fear and anxiety.
It's a big
drives them
trigger
to the polls.
for Black black moderates, right? We can't let our people off the hook. We cannot let the black moderate off the hook because they are also very much beholden to that type of mentality as well. And those dog whistles signal for them, and spark the same type of reaction and this visceral reaction that pushes them to vote conservative as well. And it is very, very concerning. And I don't think there's going to be an easy answer to fix it. And I think that that's going to be something that I know Abrams has to think about and continuously think about through this whole, campaign. I
think another group, too, that we have to remember in this is a growing population in Georgia is also Hispanic voters, or I don't know why they're called Hispanic voters. They're mostly, Georgia has a sizable Latino population, but there are mostly Mexican and Guatemalan, and there's not. But anyway, this is probably, I think, our biggest moderate minority group. Because even the Asian population in Georgia is quite liberal.
And
the Hispanic population is more split. They're more split. So, yeah, I mean, there's a lot to be said about that. And like you said, I'm sure she's thinking about all of that and taking all that into consideration. But it's very different to have multiple narratives and multiple constituent concerns versus really just one.
Well, I think the most interesting thing when I was speaking with Brad and he was talking about the Asian population is how he was saying his father's black, his mom is Asian. So he was talking about two different sides, and he was saying now he's trying to have them meet in the middle. And he was like, what he's finding out is that they feel like our plights are parallel. The way that black folks are treated, the way the Asians are treated, not the same, but just the thought process they can get on the same wavelength, which I never thought I would live to see. Like I told him, I was like, when you think of Asians, you think of we keep our head down, we do what we do, and we just, do what we do.
For sure.
Yeah, which he was like his mom had that ideology until the whole massacre thing with the Asians here, and then it was like, wait, that may not work like it used to.
Well, here's the thing: you have exactly as you said, these seeds being planted. When we go all the way back to the history of this country throughout the 1900s, and we think about all the horrible things that happened to members of the Asian American community in this country by this government, but then you think about how conservatives and planted seeds to turn that, to create them as a model minority, to alter how black people see them, to alter how they see themselves, to alter how white people see them. It's all a part of like very carefully manipulated strategy. And that's a failure of the Democratic Party at the national level to have a strategy. You will never win the game when you only play defense every single time you play the game. And that's what Democrats do. They're constantly playing defense. They're in the whole entire push to get Warnock and Ossoff elected was a defense. Once you got them there, what happens? Because while you were defending, the Republicans were constantly playing offense, building, planting seeds, tearing it down, getting ready for the long game.
Yep.
And here is why that happens. At the national level, Democrats always hire losers to lead the party. And I know that's a bold statement. I know that's a hurtful statement to say that Jamie Harrison is a loser, but Jamie Harrison is a loser.
Oh, from South Carolina?
He lost. Before Jamie Harrison, we had Howard Dean, former governor of Vermont, another loser who ran for president, and he lost. We keep rewarding losers with the highest position in our national convention, whereas Republicans hire strategists like Rona. They hire people who are going to figure out how to make this work. They hire people who are going to figure out how to get faulty legislation passed that's based in personality, that's going to ban trans kids and put trans parents in jail, and we can't say gay. That is what they're doing, and it is working with the American people, and that is abhorrible.
I think it's deeper than that, though, because for the few years that I did work and spent a lot of work for the Republican Party and then worked for the RNC, I feel like the same conversations are had in Republican rooms. They say the same thing about Democrats. See, Democrats do this, and Democrats are better with tech, and Democrats know how to reach young people, and Democrats got the blue. I don't know who let them do that. They stole the blue. We should have fought harder to be blue. Red doesn't resonate the same way with people that blue does. I mean, they have the same conversations about how effective Democrats are in so many ways, and about how hard it is for their, as they have this aging population, that they really have to keep mobilized and keep motivated. And I do think if you could say anything, though, about Republicans is that they do have a more monolithic population, but they do believe in culture as like the major motivator. And I do think that the culture is the biggest motivator for people to take any sort of action. I think that there will always be people, probably like the people at this table, who are really motivated about the mechanics and the how and how democracy works and the ideas. But most people are just very, very driven by culture and really by their identity. And so for the Democratic Party to be one that attempts to be so inclusive and that is attempting to constantly push the boundaries of what identity is and how important everyone's individual identity is and how that changes and how it's no one's right for anybody else to dictate, you then have a side that says, well, we have one identity and it's American. And it's we all look alike and we think alike and we do alike and your family looks like my family looks like my family. And it's a very, very different war to wage when you're moving from a position of we are all the same versus, well, we are all equal and we are not all the same.
And we want to welcome everybody to this table, and this table
And
progressively gets longer and longer because
But the length is not the challenge, but it's just these are long battles to fight, and I think there's a sense of mutual and shared priorities that can make it a little bit easier. And I also think Republicans are, I think, consider themselves to be and identify much stronger as Americans than a lot of younger Democrats do. Because for a lot of younger Democrats, their identities are so multifaceted and they demand every corner of their identity to be respected and acknowledged, and it should be. But for a lot of Republicans, that's not the case. They're not holding on to their identity as British or as German descendants or as people who are from Ireland. They consider themselves just firmly American, and there are no commas or qualifiers, and I don't know.
All right, so how does everybody feel going into midterms? What are we looking at?
We're looking at a bruising defeat if we're not, if something doesn't quickly change. We're looking at a bruising defeat because Democrats have become demoralized due to disinformation. And until we have, and Jen Psaki is amazing to me as a White House press secretary, but there is a major problem around PR and marketing the message that the Democratic Party needs to find a way to overcome quickly. You are right. Young people want to support this party. Young people want to follow this party. They want to dig in. They have the energy, they have the stamina, and they have the know-how to make this happen. And they used that in the last presidential election. And what did they get for it? Very, very little. President Biden is older. He is out of touch with Gen Z, and that is a crucial flaw and would be the cornerstone of a successful strategy if the Democratic Party knew how to leverage it, and they don't.
Gotcha. Yeah, that's true. To be fair, Gen Z is mine. Blows my own mind.
I mean, I have a staff of them. I mean, it's they like you to take the reins and kind of tell them and guide them with their skill set, recognize what they can do, and finding a space for them. If you can do that, you
and let them go, and they're gonna do amazing things. They're gonna do amazing
literally
things.
Like it's one of those things. All right, so let's segue into some entertainment stuff. We done got serious enough. Let's segue into some entertainment stuff. All right, so y'all know what's on the table first. This whole slap heard around the world on the Oscars.
We're starting with the slap?
What else you want to start with?
Oh, I mean,
that was the first thing I could think of. What else you want to start with?
I mean,
because we've missed so much.
Now you brought it up. That could cover actually out of time, so we can go. Go ahead.
You can do what else?
I think you should start. No, I think you should start.
I've been moderating all day.
I don't know what your opinion is going to be, and I need to hear.
I can go first, but I'm happy to jump in and give a very controversial and different opinion of this topic that no one's going to probably agree with, and that's okay. And I will, for the sake of argument, pretend like it was real when the time comes, pretend like it was real. But I firmly believe this was a planned event.
I agree.
And it could have very well it could have just been between two men. But I firmly believe that this was a public relations move. I won't even call it a stunt, but I think it was a coordinated, organized, strategic plan to do multiple things. Number one, Chris Rock had his first return to comedy the week of the Oscars, and the show was not sold out, but now it is.
Literally.
The whole world has continuously talked about Will Smith and not about his performance in King Richard that garnered him an Oscar, an Academy Award, but talking about the things that happened in his personal life in his bedroom. This man was not being seen in a way that has been deemed very manly. And this now changed him because he went from being the man who allows men to sleep with his wife to being the man who stands up for his wife. So that also has somewhat altered his perception, especially among the black community. Again, a PR strategic move. The Academy Awards has had declining ratings ever since Oscars So White rightfully trended. and should continue to trend. They pulled out every stop this year to bring back the black community, and not the watchers, right? It's not I don't. The Academy Awards wasn't doing this for ratings and for us to sit and watch the show. That's a nice benefit, but it's about the ad revenue. And that comes from what trends on Twitter. Black Twitter controls the trending hashtags.
Oh, yeah.
And when black people aren't talking about the Oscars, then the world isn't talking about the Oscars. So all of this came together in one perfect slap that then resulted in not necessarily higher viewers, but a whole week of trending hashtags, a whole week of memes, a whole week of discussion on podcasts and platforms just like this. What better PR could you get for next year's Academy Awards? Right now, somebody is out there selling ad space for next year's Oscars because it's must-watch TV. Chris Rock, former Academy host, Will Smith, very vested in Academy. They have a whole lot to gain.
I agree.
Chris Rock, can we go back to Chris Rock really quick before we move on? I still don't so he's right. He's returning. Getting slapped in the face for what?
Slapped on the neck. So I want you to really look at I've seen that bro. I've seen this break. I didn't watch it.
Okay.
I didn't watch it live because I'm #Oscars so white too.
Yeah, I don't watch it.
So I didn't watch it live, and they brought out the big gun. When they brought out Beyonce, it was real hard for me to say I am not gonna watch. And I didn't do it. I literally went out, so I would not have the opportunity to watch. You
part of the Beehive?
I'm a huge Beyonce fan, but I'm also a Rihanna. I mean, so it's not just Babe, but it's a whole group. When they rolled out, in that slap, I didn't watch it in slow motion either. But again, it was a hit. He did hit that man.
He did.
But I think he hit that man when I looked at commentary on the neck.
It didn't look
a hard slap on the neck. Chris Rock braced his face to absorb the impact and held his hands behind his back so he would not have had an involuntary reaction to hit back.
It just didn't look right. When I watched, it didn't even feel right.
How many men do you know charge another man, hit that man, and turn their back to that man? No man, even one who doesn't know how to fight, even a Libra man like Will Smith, because he's a Libra, even a Libra will not turn his back to the opponent and walk away in a moment of anger. You square up and you prepare to defend yourself.
I know to slap him. Like, he didn't punch him. I was like, the slap.
Because you can't do a fake punch.
Yeah, exactly.
And make contact. It's too soft. But you most certainly can do a hard slap on the neck.
It just didn't. When I watched the video, because I don't watch the Oscars because I don't have the patience. But when I watched the video, the whole vibe of it, like, I've been watching Will most of my life. Like, the way he moved up there, the way he did it, what happened afterwards, the whole thing was just awkward. I was like, how did it not feel weird to y'all?
Well,
I'm watching it feel weird.
Did his YouTube special feel weird to you? The Will's gonna lose 10 pounds in 10 days special that he did, where he was just showing his current psychological and emotional state?
I mean, Will just kind of does things.
I do believe that was real.
Well, that was not Will in top form.
Yeah, but I mean, we've seen him like do little things like that, but something like this on this stage.
Will sitting at the red table crying red tears is not Will Smith in top form. So I am
not the Will Smith we know.
Well, no, it's not.
It might be the Will Smith that Jada knows.
Psychological health.
And that might be the Will Smith that Jada knows. That's why Jada had to get a little extra support.
Well, that is
in the bedroom.
That is why saying
because Will Smith's sitting there crying.
Now hold on.
I'm joking.
Now hold on.
Honestly, I do feel like Jada manipulates Will a little bit. I feel like she manipulates Will. I really do.
And that's okay because he likes it. He likes it.
The level of disrespect at this table has got to stop.
I'm just saying, I mean, you sat at that table and talked about an affair you had with this guy that Will was supposed to be like mentoring or something like that. But Will thought y'all were cool, and now you sitting at a table with him, telling him y'all were smashing and grabbing. Like,
this obviously isn't the first time Will Smith has lied to the American people, because all of that you just said was a lie. In my opinion, it don't make sense. Don't add up. I'm just saying.
There's just too much.
Okay.
Well, here's what I'll say. Because of those incidents alone, seeing Will walk up there as belligerent as he suddenly and abruptly became did not surprise me, because I feel like I've seen him quite belligerent and abrupt lately. I feel like the last couple of times I've seen this individual, he has been slowly emotionally deteriorating, heading towards an emotional breakdown. which is why, as strange as it was almost consistent lately.
Yeah, but Will is not stupid. Like, he has a brand.
But he's
and the
but he's
Oscars.
highly,
I don't think he would risk the Oscars.
He has a brand, yet he sat across a table and let his wife talk lovingly about a man she slept with.
Yeah, but that's different. We talking about
How's
his
that
career.
different?
His career.
No,
He's never played with.
His career.
He's
and
never
that
played
was a
with
part
his
of his
career.
career. Think
No.
about how she benefited and how their brand and the wealth, like that,
There
put
was no
Red Table Talk
separation
on the
between a
map.
public interview and a career as an actor. There was
No, I
no
agree with that,
separation.
too. I agree with
between
you.
a red carpet, between a photo shoot. Everything is your career, and that happened. I don't know who let that air. Who would benefit. I have
Will
no idea. I
Packer
will
was-
never.
was-
Well, Jada
in charge.
benefited. The Red Table Talk benefited. August Alsina benefited.
How did
Everybody
she-
benefited except Will Smith.
So how did that happen? How did that happen?
Because Jada.
You tell me they have two totally different teams, and one is conspiring, like the agents.
I think that sometimes I believe that Will Smith and his team may not realize how these things play out on a larger scale. And I think that they may be doing things for the moment. And I wouldn't be surprised to see Will Smith and Chris Rock sit at the red table and let that be
If that happens, then you know.
or become a big, huge, like ABC, who's a part of the Oscars and in the mix too. That ABC then, has a special sit down with,
They call it
whoever they try
Oprah.
to counter. Well, they won't call it Oprah because Oprah's exclusive to CBS, but they'll bring in their version of Oprah.
Diane Sawyer.
That's right. To do that interview
No,
and
they
then
won't.
capitalize on
No,
that.
they won't bring Diane Sawyer.
Who else they gonna get?
I will riot.
They'll bring Barbara Walters out of retirement.
Barbara may not be. We don't know if she even here no more.
Really?
I don't know. I'm just saying. I haven't seen Barbara.
Barbara she has a girlfriend, so
Okay.
she's
I guess
She's-
here's the
she's
thing. There's so
chilling
many
with her
stunts
girlfriend.
that I could.
okay. So we're out of time.
I can't get over it. I can't get over it.
I knew I was gonna put an end to it, and that's why I was like, let me just go ahead.
I mean, I'm thinking.
Just think about what I'm
very
saying.
deeply about what you're saying.
Think about what I'm
Again,
saying.
I agree with. I
Out of
said
all
that.
the humiliating things that could leverage your career, from sex tapes to scandals
They
to
didn't think
rants,
it was gonna hurt his
this
career.
has got to be the most
I don't think it's still. I don't
humiliating
think it's
way.
gonna hurt Will's career.
Yeah,
he
yeah.
got Bel Air going now.
These memes that
that's
you're
gonna get
talking
second
about,
season.
I have not seen these memes. The only memes I've
Oh,
seen is
baby.
Will as the bottom of an ashtray joke.
Well, I
I've not
need
seen
you-
memes
I
about
need you
Will,
to
the
follow
strong,
my
tough
Instagram.
husband. I've seen Will the
Eddie, she
joke.
don't do social media like that.
Follow-
That's why she ain't
That's not
saying
true.
You can just
the memes that I've
search
seen of
The
Will is that
Zactivist.
Will's marriage is open to everything but jokes.
that. Okay.
Yeah.
Will's
Yeah.
face.
Okay. Final thoughts, Dr. Zach. Final thoughts. Anything you want to leave with?
Final thoughts is that I want everyone to vote in November like they voted in 2020 because the stakes are just as high. What we have at risk are just as high. We have, and luckily things worked out in our favor in regards to the mayor of our city being Mayor Dickens. But again, the turnout for the primary for mayor was low. The turnout for who became and who sits on our city council was low. It worked in our favor because Atlanta has good people. Atlanta has good people. But that is not the case for the whole entire state of Georgia.
No.
Everything depends on Stacey Abrams becoming the next governor of Georgia and Senator Raphael Warnock remaining in the United States Senate. We need people to vote, and that's my final thought. And I'm going to continue to do that work and push it forward to do my part. And then I will be able to sleep at night if it doesn't work in our favor.
I hear you. Keep your eyes on Georgia politics because there's always bills moving in the state legislature. They are allowing basically guns to run amok in the state. Pay attention to the rhetoric around crime right now and how much they're scaring everybody about how dangerous our streets are, whilst at the same time allowing people to forego background checks every 5 years and get guns. That's a contradiction. Pay attention to that. That bill is moving right now. There's also, maybe on a more positive note, a bill for the Women's Care Act in Georgia. This will allow us to actually give women prenatal vitamins if they are pregnant and in custody. We have lost women. Just in South Atlanta, a woman died and a woman lost her child. Children are frequently lost in,
Is that
in
Pam's
facilities. Yes, it's Pam's bill. Yeah, it moved. It passed the Senate. So those are two positive developments. But yeah, don't sleep on the Georgia legislature. It's an interesting one.
We're back. And this was fun and exciting. Special thanks to our special commentator, Dr. Zach. Always a good time. Definitely have to have you back.
I will be here anytime you guys need me. All you have to do is ask.
We will have to do that again because it's really fun, a good comeback show. So we will see you guys next time, same place, same time on the Leadership Blend Live podcast with your host, Ricardo D. Rice.